What? No news episodes for over 2 weeks, almost 16 days without any news episodes on my channel. Ladies and gents, welcome back. Today I am finally back with yet another news episode because while I was gone, a lot of interesting stuff happened and a lot of interesting stuff was announced. In today's episode, I am quickly going to talk about a rare turreted Soviet heavy tank branch. And I am going to start with ISM, because in some of the other episodes where I covered a couple of tanks in one episode, a lot of people said just stick to one tank, introduce one tank, because it is quite hard to follow all those numbers in one episode. Thank you for that feedback. I am going to do that from now on. So ISM, Tier 8 Soviet Russian heavy tank, back turreted heavy tank. Finally, Wargaming is going to do it right. They are not going to remove any tanks, as they are doing with, or as they did with Foch 155, FE215B, and also with 183 in our previous batch, and as they are thinking about doing with 263 as well. Good old YOLO wagon. But hopefully Wargaming, after receiving a lot of negative feedback about that, about replacing 263, about moving it down by one tier, hopefully they are going to reconsider it and maybe they simply add object 268 version, was it version 4 I believe, as a second option. I sent my feedback to Wargaming as well, so hopefully they are going to listen and they are going to read my comment section. Over 800 comments with negative feedback on that topic. I am not against receiving any new tanks, Object 268 version 4, awesome, but add it as a second option without removing anything. Because I believe you can come up with premium tanks other way as well. But what I'm able to share with you today is ISM and first details, first pictures, first HD pictures from the game as well. And this vehicle actually looks quite cool, although it reminds me that Object 430 version 2. I am sure that some of you have already heard about IS4M, have seen those details, but I am making this episode for all the rest of the guys and for myself as well. I like to make news episodes because I have to, for every single episode, I have to go deep into the details. I have to learn about the background, I have to learn about the vehicle, and this actually helps me out as well. I am deep into this stuff, I am deep into topic, I know what is happening, what they are changing, tuning and so on, and maybe after 1 year doing stuff like this, I can actually predict what they are going to do. So I'm kind of like a little analyst over here. But this is the deck tree, how this is going to look like. At the moment I do not know from where you're able to get into the IS4M. Most likely I think you can get into the IS4M from IS and from KB3 as well. Most likely, this would be my guess. Or maybe from one heavy tank line, we'll see. After that, Object 705, and after that, Tier 10 Object 705A. And I also have first details about 705A, but more about that in the future, maybe in about 2 days, because tomorrow I have something super special to show you, so stay tuned. I actually have some armor profiles for you as well, but more about that when I am talking about the armor of this vehicle. And I think, without further ado, while you are enjoying some gameplay action on the background, let's get going and let's talk about first details. Hit points, 1500 hit points, which is quite standard for a tier 8 heavy tank. A gun, 122mm D25 BM gun, bad manners gun I believe. Shell types AP, APCR and HE. AP shell velocity is 850, no information about APCR shell velocity, but it is a lot better as always. Shell average penetration, 212, 240 and 68. So 212 penetration with standard AP round is actually quite decent because you have to think about the alpha damage as well, which is 390 with a 122mm gun. But premium round penetration, you're actually not getting that much extra penetration, only 28mm better penetration, 240. But once again, 390 alpha damage. I believe this makes up for it, but most likely 122mm gun is not the most accurate as well. And HE alpha damage is 530. Stock reload time is 12 seconds, which once again is super standard. Rate of fire equals 4.97 rounds per minute. Aiming time 2.88 seconds. Yeah, as expected, not the best. Average damage per minute 1936, so around 2000, as on many other tier 8 heavy tanks as well. Accuracy, aka dispersion, is 0.4, but this is a Russian vehicle, and you know how Russian vehicles, especially Russian heavy tanks, are in this game. The bigger your number is, your accuracy number is, the better your aim is. Actually not, but you know Russian. If you shout Russia, I believe you are going to hit every single shot. Gun depression -5 degrees, gun elevation 20 degrees. Elevation is quite nice, but no gun depression -5 degrees is nothing special. It is actually quite bad, but it was once again kinda expected because it is a back-turret vehicle and you simply cannot get such an epic gun depression. I believe 5 is the maximum this vehicle can get because it has actually quite low profile turret. But moving on, next up let's talk about mobility. Hull traverse speed 33.4 degrees per second, turret traverse speed is 26 degrees per second. Top speed 35 and 12 moving backwards. 12 backwards is quite bad, but 35 is quite standard. The range resistance numbers on hard 1.05, on medium 1.6 and on soft 2.4 rounded up. Not too bad actually, overall mobility, I would say. 33.4 degrees hull traverse speed, yeah, I can work with that. But next up, let's talk about hull armor and let's take a look at the armor profile. Hull armor, frontal hull armor is 120 millimeters thick, but as we can see, it has quite a nice slope. Side armor on a tier 8 heavy tank is 120. Which is also extremely good. So this vehicle, having a turret in the back of the vehicle with this armor, is one amazing side scraper. As soon as I'm able to get 3D models to check out this armor a little bit more, I am going to let you know, but on paper at least it feels super awesome side scraper. It doesn't have too many weak spots. From those pictures I am pretty sure we can see raw armor value and not effective armor value, because I refuse to believe that this tank has 150 effective armor on upper plate. I refuse to believe that. But as we can see, not too many weak spots, no epic commander hatch. Lower plate, I think, of course, is going to be a weak spot because it is not as nicely angled as the upper plate, but still, if you side scrape with this vehicle, you should be Gucci. And turret armor value 250 in the front, 140 on the sides, and 120 millimeters in the rear of the turret. 120 in the rear is actually really good. 80 on the rear of the hull. This vehicle is going to be 55 tons heavy tank with 60 ton weight limit. Engine power 750 horsepower engine. Equals a specific power ratio of 13.64 horsepower per ton. Concealment of stationary vehicle 11.1% and moving vehicle 5.5%, but this is a heavy tank, so do not worry too much about that. View range 350, standard Russian view range, no view range whatsoever. Too much vodka, like dizzy, seeing double and all that. And finally, ISM is going to have 4 crew members: commander, driver, gunner and loader. And these were first the details about ISM Tier 8, upcoming Tier 8 Soviet Russian regular standard heavy tank, not a premium vehicle. On paper, gun handling, mobility, view range, all that seems to be completely balanced. The armor is one thing that I do not know how balanced this is. Maybe this is balanced, but we have to keep in mind this is just first version, or actually I think they already tuned it a little bit. This should be second version of this vehicle, if I remember correctly. I remember I saw something earlier as well, but keep in mind everything is subject to change, and most likely they are going to tune something on this vehicle before they are going to release it. But at the moment, the strongest thing about this vehicle is going to be the armor, 100%. A lot of people in the community were waiting for this vehicle, especially in the Russian community, as I was able to read from the comments using Google Translator. I can understand, I can read Russian, I can read Russian letters, I can read it completely fine, but I do not understand every single word. So Google Translator helps me out over here, which actually is translating stuff quite nicely. So let me know what you think about this new Soviet heavy tank branch, about ISM. Is it balanced? Is it overpowered? In my opinion, it is not overpowered, but it is going to be one tough nut to crack, especially when it is top tier vehicle. Good luck trying to penetrate it with tier 6 tanks. As always, +-2 matchmaking. If you are a top tier vehicle or in the bottom having to face this thing, yeah, better choose another target or try to flank it somehow. I don't know how, but try to do that. But stay tuned for my preview episode about Object 705 as well, tier 10, 705A, tier 10 heavy tank in this branch. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your feedback in the comments, and I catch you next time.